I just created my own dragon suit, and just shy of 1 day after the first version was finished, my boyfriend took me on its very first convention.
Can we go back? The crowd gets increasingly nerdy. Oh, come on.
One of the most important things to me was that the whole suit fits in this bag. Now, why did I do this? And above all, does it suit me? All this and more in today's Emerald Show. Let's go! Hey everyone, welcome to the Emerald Show. How did y'all sleep? Really? Well, that's just great. You know, I slept pretty great myself too. I have had my dragon character for about 6 to 7 years now. And it first came to mind during a shamanic journey, which is a form of deep meditative state of trance, where the goal is to find or communicate with spirit animals. After initial contact, the character known to others as Orebark has become a staple in my life. With its charismatic smile, interesting wing design, and as well its ability to absorb water and turn it into magical energy, where he can fly faster than the speed of sound, or use it to practice more and higher level magic. To me, he symbolizes good health, rest, being open-minded, a focus on conflict resolution, and accumulation of wealth and knowledge. I have used my character pretty much everywhere, in art, in dreams, typically ones where I turn into him, and even physical objects, where I 3D printed his character on objects and then painted them. And of course, the idea of wearing a suit that was resembling him also came to mind. It mostly is because I was in fantasy festivals with my friends, where it's very typical to wear a costume. And what other costume could fit me better than my own character that means so much to me? The main thing that blocked me for making my own suit was mostly that I simply didn't need it. I'm a lucid dreamer, so I can dream about whatever I want, even very complicated stuff like turning into a physical dragon. Not long after, there was another entity that caused doubt about whether or not to make a suit. Through a unique series of events, I became boyfriends with my mate called Foxo, and somewhere halfway the relationship, he decided to get a suit for himself.
Hi. It is so big. I mean the head, of course.
To see him dance, play around, and interact with other people, it made me feel so wholesome, and I've never seen him this happy. Even though his face was covered by the mask, I could tell he was happy. Very happy. So naturally, this meant that I too started leaning towards getting my own suit. But here's where problems quickly arose. From all of the connections I had within this space and within the fandom, I could not really find one that was fast enough for my liking. Typically, the waitlist was about a year and then another year to get to work on it. Having to wait 2 years is very difficult for a tiny-ass autistic dragon. So, without having ever touched any sewing supplies or separated pieces of fabric, I decided to make my own. Everything that we create begins with a plan, and the dragon suit is no exception. For starters, I wanted mine to be more sleek and small than traditional suits, as portability is very important to me. I wanted to be able to carry the whole thing in a single bag. Moreover, I wanted the suit to feel close to my skin. This way, I feel closer to my dragon, but they also appear smaller than other people wearing suits. I have the feeling that this matches more closely the size of my dragon compared to most other people's characters. Secondly, I really wanted it to be easily taken apart or put back together. This way, I could use the suit partially whenever it got too hot. For example, I could choose to just wear the head, the ears, or the tail with relative ease. Now that we have figured out what we want, we have to figure out what we need. And this of course starts with supplies. What I purchased to make my suit is a sewing kit, probably the world's smallest sewing machine, which typically is meant for portable on-the-go repairs of clothes, a fabric cutter, which came very handy, a cutting board, spare blades for the fabric cutter, and fabric glue, which I didn't think would work, but it turned out to be a really good tool, and you'll see a lot of it in this episode. And of course, lots and lots of fabric. At the start, I tried to practice sewing with the sewing machine. Next up, it was the fabric glue's turn. I wanted to create scales which I would later laser cut and glue onto the suit without having to sew them. This would be much faster, and given that I needed roughly 1000 scales to make the suit more realistic, it's a lot of time that would be saved. Now, in the end, I decided to forego the scales because the fabric that I ultimately chose for the base of the dragon suit was so beautiful that I decided not to waste it with scales. With our little practice round behind us, it was time to indulge ourselves into some actual craftsmanship. Now, I started with the leg portion of the suit as it seemed to be the simplest shape. I layered one of my own jeans on top of the fabric and then lined it out with a small black Sharpie. The line was so thin that you could not see it from outside or from the other side of the fabric. In other words, the ink did not leak through. I checked this before continuing. After the lines have been drawn, I cut out the shape of the pants. I did this twice so I could use it as a full suit. A keen eye probably notices that I'm using scissors and not the fabric cutter to cut out the shape. This is because the fabric cutter has not arrived yet at this point in time. Later on in streams I did use the fabric cutter and I must say it was much easier. With both layers of the pants portion in place, it was time to glue them together. You probably notice I'm no longer sewing. I gave up on that part, and I also found out that the glue was so good that in durability tests that I did prior, it was actually as good as sewing as long as you did it right. Having finally made the first portion, it was time to feast on the fruit of my labor. Having joyfully run around the house with my new dragon pants, it was time to focus on the next portion of the suit. The head and chest portion of the suit are all the same process as before, so we don't have to go over that again. The tail, eyes, ears, and snout were an entirely different creative process, which took some time to refine to perfection. The tail portion is the only part of the suit that has been sewed on, and this is done for durability reasons, as the tail would weigh down on the pants pretty much all the time, and with gluing I was unsure about the weight distribution. My sewing skills were still terrible, but thankfully my mom helped. The eyes and ears and snout have all 3D printed bases, with the eye mesh being 3D printed as a single solid object. The ears can be mounted on a plastic hairband that goes for €1 at a pharmacy or convenience store, giving the option to wear them without the rest of the suit. The snout is worn using an elastic strap around the head, giving once again the option to wear just the snout. The only thing really glued to the suit and being non-removable are the eyes. You probably might be wondering, how did I make the fabric match the size of the 3D printed bases? Well, my phone is a full-blown DLP projector, which I simply use to project the vector art on the wall with the same size as the bases, along with a safety margin of around 2 centimeters. Then I use the same Sharpie to line out the fabric, and then the fabric cutter to cut out the shape. After that, simply glue it like we did before, and Bob's your uncle. With the entire suit put together, it was time to test it out. And just in time, because the next day was Ibercon. It goes without saying that the suit wasn't as good as other people's suits, but I was really happy with the result. For a first version and having no experience prior, I actually expected something that wouldn't even work at all. Having something that I could wear, that I made myself, and could use at my first experience at a convention was just amazing. It was 3 days of having fun, making new friends, and enjoying each other. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There's nobody better to explain my first impression than Past Emerald. Past Emerald, the mic is yours. Okay, so basically, I just got back from day one. Where do I begin? I was really nervous from the start. I was really nervous, especially with the self-made suit. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been to a place like this before. I have never seen so many people get along. I loved all the suits that I've seen, all the creativity. There's like millions of hours put into all of these suits. But the biggest thing that left the biggest impression on me was the way that people accepted each other. That was just wow. I absolutely adored it. I just close my eyes and I just see it all again. And it all actually made me just a little bit emotional that
so many people got along so well as if it was just a norm. I wish the rest of the world was like this. And I just didn't want to forget this impression, which is why I'm recording it now from our hotel.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. It was a really cool and long journey. Huge shout out to Ibercon, both the staff and the people that joined. It was hugely amazing. Also, an extra thank you to the people that gave me permission to use our photos because that just gives a little bit more spice to the whole thing. I really enjoyed it. It's all motivated me a lot to work on version 2. So there will be more content about soup making. Will it go well? I don't know. Will it go as planned? No. So if you want to see how it's going from here, there will be a link to my Twitch and Discord and whatever in the description in case you want to follow up on this. You're all awesome. And if you're going to bed, of course, Nini Dragons and all peculiarities. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.